Namaste and welcome back to my channel. I have really missed being on here. This last month, I have been detoxing hard, and because of that, I decided to take time off to focus on creating even more harmony in my life through integration work, integration of the changes that I have made on a spiritual plane. And that is why today I want to talk in depth about what living with intention or intentional living really means. But before we get to the crux of intentional living, it's important to understand why we must do everything in our power to live in an intentional manner now. You don't really need to be spiritual or religious to understand that the world is facing a lot of chaos right now. Wars, food shortages, protests, power plays, control tactics, mental and physical health crises, and so many other problems. Many top-level people, leaders like doctors, scientists, artists even, authors, and officials have tried to tackle these issues, but it seems like humanity keeps on digging an even deeper hole each time we try to do the right thing. Humanity's moral compass is in fact programmed. It's not the real moral compass that we need to solve these world issues. It's the moral compass we have inherited from a previous generation that also suffered similar problems, maybe in different proportions. That's akin to inheriting a haunted house from your parents who also inherited that haunted house from their parents. And even though everyone knows that the house is haunted, they continue living in it out of respect for older generations. And not only that, each generation burdens that next generation with their karma as well. And because of these burdens being cumulatively passed down to every new generation, each generation will become weaker and weaker than the previous one. This scenario sums up why the world is a real mess right now. We have simply inherited burdens from the past and really done nothing about it. Karma has accumulated to such an extent that sometimes it feels like everything around us is crumbling from the pressure. I am not saying that humans haven't tried fixing world problems. Of course they have. But they have attempted to do so while keeping those burdens alive. And that is why not many solutions have really worked so far to eradicate disease, to bridge the gap between the haves and have-nots, to end discrimination once and for all, to cure mental illness and figure out what to do about healthcare. And that is why so many people have lost all hope. So many are feeling lost and disconnected, and so many are creating new problems to cover up the old ones. And how are we supposed to find solutions to real world issues, solutions that work? Because until people can solve their own basic problems, they will not prioritize finding solutions to world issues. The answer to this problem lies in living intentionally. Living intentionally equals living in alignment. Alignment with one's true nature. What was meant to be versus what is. You were meant to be successful but aren't. So how do you go back to your basic blueprint of a successful human? By living in alignment with what is really you. Living in alignment requires incredible strength to accept that your life is supposed to be an expression of your limitless self, not your limited being. Living in alignment is accepting that you are not your limitations, that you are capable of transcending all your limitations to become your best possible self. Living in alignment means to live in harmony within yourself first and then with your environment. Living intentionally is a lifestyle that first teaches you to unlearn everything you have learned about what life is supposed to be like, and then gather evidence of the possibilities that do exist. And living intentionally requires you to develop belief in yourself in spite of what you have heard you are capable of. Living in alignment means that you will drop all the old and outdated programs that you run and discover the mechanics of pure intentional living. So, what do you think is preventing humanity from living an intentional life so that they can create the life of their dreams? The answer lies in all the distractions that we are bombarded with daily, from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, all the distractions we face. Drama within families, jealousy among friends, controlling bosses, abusive spouses, unhappy children, limited resources, and hopeless lives. Those form our distracted lives. Distracted living is preventing us from creating lives that fulfill our deepest desires. Remember when you did something to meet someone else's expectations of you and still felt unfulfilled? That's a prime example of living in distraction. Or when you sacrificed your sense of self to keep peace with someone you love. Or the time you ignored the voice of reason so you could prove to others that you are in fact right. How do you know if you are living with intention or living an intentional life without distractions? The answer lies in how often you use courage to make change in your life. Unfortunately, strength of character is in short supply due to distracted living. You might not think so, but in my opinion, many of life's challenges are only distractions, keeping us from our true nature, our superpowers. That is why if we can figure out how to recreate ourselves, and we can, with some pretty unique and solid superpowers, which can then be used to create a better reality for ourselves and our families. Now, what if every single human being decided enough was enough and they were ready to create a reality in which there was no drama, only pure love, no competition with others, only collaboration, no bullying, only respect, no lack, only abundance, and most of all, no division, only unity? My gosh, the world would look completely different. We would have absolutely no environmental issues or homeless people sleeping on streets and park benches. We would have a world where humans were respected and life was lived well. So, how can we achieve that state of bliss on earth? By going within and finding an access point to courage and using that courage day in and day out to make real change in here so that we can start to experience real change out there. Living with intention is a simple concept. People often set intentions for their day and stop right there. They do intention setting exercises for a week, 2 weeks, and then a brand new distraction shows up. They forget all about their intentions until a new crisis forces them to go within again. What if the problem is not that humans are lazy, but that they simply don't understand what living with intention means? What if you don't understand what setting an intention really is? What if you are setting intentions for love without understanding what true love is? What if you are setting intentions for success without understanding what success means for you? What if you are setting those SMART goals every week without understanding why you need to achieve one goal after another? Living with intention means living in alignment with your true identity. That's the secret to creating meaningful lives that will serve as a legacy for generations to come. What if you inherited that haunted house and you decided to understand the frequency you ran that brought that haunted house in your life? And then you changed your frequency resonance. And because of your courage to look at your life and make real change, the house you live in isn't haunted anymore and you start to sleep well again. All of a sudden, you have started to create real impact in the world. Your future generations will be better off because you took the time to understand how you can align with your true nature instead of simply accepting that the house was going to make you miserable every single day of your life. Thankfully, I do not live in a haunted house. So a more real life example for me would be choosing to homeschool my children. Late last year, I observed that traditional school was negatively impacting my kids' mental health. So I decided to pull them out of traditional school to give them a learning environment that would allow them to access their inner courage every day, to learn in a new way going forward. This was a decision I made after careful consideration and deep introspection. This was an aligned decision for my family. It was definitely not an easy one because I have spent my entire life believing that only traditional education paves the correct path to a successful life. To evaluate my beliefs about what education means, I had to access courage within and open my mind to new ideas. And because I accessed courage while looking at new ways of learning, I knew I was on an aligned path. My intention was to create a fulfilling learning environment for my children. And that is why I decided to give homeschooling a solid go. To do this, we all had to unlearn what we had understood about education and recreate that environment where learning is fun, hands-on, and intentional. Redefining how we wanted to learn as a family was an aligned decision. And I know that it was the correct one because all steps to planning our homeschooling life fell right into place, like the puzzle finally just came together. This is one of the ways I use the tools that I teach to access courage, to access new possibilities of personal growth for my children. For you, intentional living might look different. You might focus on how you treat your body and do everything in your power to feel good in your skin. Or you might take a course in gardening so you can start to connect with the earth and understand the medicinal properties of the plants you want to grow. Living in intention is how we can impact the world by setting an example, by becoming the leaders we needed growing up. Intentional living will help you get closer to your true nature and your unique self in a way that feels authentic to you. This is the work I do every day with my clients. I help them understand where they are and how they can feel authentic in their purpose. I would absolutely love to know in the comments below how you create alignment in your daily life. And if you have questions about anything that we've discussed here today, please reach out. Please help me grow my channel by sharing videos that you love with your loved ones. Much love to you and see you next time.